Welcome to Artistic Horsepower. It's James here, and today we're going to be talking about the Ferrari 812 Superfast. Hit it! What's up, guys? Let's dive right into it. How about that Superfast, eh? That is one heck of a car. And where exactly is it inspired from, you ask? For those of you who don't know Ferrari too well, it is inspired actually from the F12 Berlinetta. Of course, the 12 in both names, both 812 and F12, means 12 cylinders because it is a V12 engine. So let's jump right into talking about the front of the car. I want to start by talking about the headlights. Something that you'll notice is with the Berlinetta, you'll notice that it's a lot more aggressive. I think the headlights look more aggressive and in your face. You'll notice that in the Berlinetta, it is very geometrical. It's very geometrical. It's rugged shapes. You have 8 LED accent lights on the outer side there, square LED accent lights, you know, very rugged geometric shape. And you actually have an L-shaped light in the top corner. There's L-shaped lights in the top inside corner of the headlights. That's very rugged looking. It's elegant, but also aggressive, but nonetheless it's kind of that in-your-face kind of look. And in the Superfast, they've completely changed that. Actually, a quick other note is actually that the main headlight housing in the Superfast is in the center, whereas you'll notice on the Berlinetta, it's actually down in the inside corner at the bottom, which I think what that does is it makes it look a lot more, I guess you could say, elegant in the Superfast. The Berlinetta, it looks more aggressive because it kind of has that mean look, whereas in the Berlinetta, in the Superfast, it is in the center and it kind of gives it more of an approachable look. If you look at the Superfast, you'll notice that in contrast with the Berlinetta's lights, the other thing is that instead of having the 8 square lights up the side, up the trim, it's actually 3 stacked rectangular lights, kind of rounded off rectangular lights at the top corner. So of having 8 running up the side, it's got these 3 stacked ones in the corner, and it just looks kind of cleaner. The whole light fixture kind of looks cleaner and more elegant, I think. So I definitely think that the lights were meant to look more in your face in the Berlinetta, and they've kind of made it look more elegant and more luxury-like with the Superfast. Something else that you'll actually notice if you're looking at the headlights is actually look just outside the headlights, and you'll notice on the Superfast the hood vents, the air intake vents for the engine under the hood are actually accenting the lights. They're on the outside of the lights on these 2 little strips just kind of off to the outside of the corners of the light housings, and I think that looks great. It's really a great kind of featural, a really great stylistic accent to the lights, I think. You'll notice if you look at the Berlinetta, it's actually just the intake vent on the hood is actually just a strip right across the middle, a single strip, as opposed to having the dual vents on either side right outside the light housing. I really do enjoy what they did with that. Moving on to the hood. What I like about the hood, we already talked about the relocation of the air intake vents to beside the headlights, which I really like that touch that they changed. The other thing you'll notice is that another way that the Superfast is more elegant, I guess, and more luxurious looking as opposed to mean and angry like sports car looking on the hood, is that with the hood, you'll notice that the body lines, right? The body lines that come down the middle come kind of at an angle like this, and they give it more of a triangular shape, aiming your eyes view towards the center of the car at the front. But it's it's a clean triangular, just 2 straight lines. And if you look at the Berlinetta as opposed to the Superfast, you'll notice that actually what it is it's flared body lines that start from the center of the end of the hood, and if you move back towards the cockpit, kind of wrap out like this, and they become indentations instead, that actually lead into 2 extra air vents, to 2 extra intake vents. So you'll notice that it's a very aggressive look on the Berlinetta, and I think that the Superfast, they really cleaned it up. I think that the cleaner look of the Superfast, I personally enjoy a lot more. So let's talk about the grille. The grille is quite an interesting shift in design if you look between the two different cars. And when I say that, the Superfast has a honeycomb styled grille, which I think looks really clean. It's a dark color, you know, it's a black or dark gray honeycomb that's really fine. It makes the front look really, really clean, and I really, really like how that honeycomb look is on the Superfast. If you look at the Berlinetta, it's kind of got this bar-like look. It kind of reminds me of prison bars, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying it looks bad, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. Personally, when I look at it, it kind of reminds me of a little kid trying to draw windows on an office building, where he just draws the building, and on the side of it draws a square and puts all these lines through it to kind of do like the multi-pane glass windows that they have on office buildings. So that is sort of what I see when I see the Berlinetta, and that's why I really like what they did with the grille a lot more with the grille on the Superfast, because I think it looks a lot cleaner. It looks less out of place. I feel like that bar-like design is not as attractive because it's not as clean. So definitely the honeycomb design is definitely a personal favorite for me as far as the visual updates to the car. Another thing about the grille, it looks more like a mouth than the Berlinetta, and I really, really like that. I really like that it kind of personifies the car more. It gives it more of a personality. It looks more like the car while you're driving down the road. You know, it's super fast Ferrari. It's going to eat everything in its path. You know, it's more of an inviting look, but at the same time, it makes it look like it's just going to swallow everything whole as it's driving down the road. I also want to quickly talk about a front splitter, basically, or cut little splitters on either side to redirect that aero bit and have a little bit of aero there. But I really like how they protrude out the corners of the front bumper, how they kind of come out from underneath. They just kind of, you know, slip in there from underneath. I think it looks really good, really aggressive, a nice little touch. It's something that, you know, not everybody will notice that much because it's not a flashy splitter like some cars, but it's a really nice touch. Next, I am going to move to the side of the car. What do I like about the side of the car? Let's talk about that. Well, there's something really interesting that you'll notice about the lines and the curves. Put the two pictures side by side, and something very, very interesting that you'll notice is the fact that the lines that they have on the side panel of the car and on the door form the same shape on both vehicles, but they've flipped it 180 degrees. If you look at it, it's actually the same, almost the exact same shape, flipped over. So on the Berlinetta, the open side of the shape is actually facing upwards, and on the Superfast, the open side of the shape formed by the lines and the curves is actually facing down. It's kind of interesting how they literally took the design, kept it the same, but pretty much flipped it 180 degrees. It's also wider on the Superfast. The Superfast, the mouth of it is kind of wider than on the Berlinetta, and I personally like that. I think it looks more in place with the whole car. It kind of suits the whole car better. It follows the whole car better, as opposed to having kind of a flat door underneath. That's like on the Berlinetta, it's just got this flat door underneath this shape that's just kind of, you know, this really nice shape, but then flat door underneath it. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Now, if we talk about the side skirts, that's an interesting story too. They kind of change how they change the side skirts between the two models. If you look at the Berlinetta, you'll notice that the side skirt is the same color as the car. They made the skirt red, like the car, the Ferrari red. But if you look at the Superfast, they actually made the skirt, they kept the skirt basically the same between the two cars, but the difference is the fact that the skirt on the Superfast is black. So the other one was supposed to blend with the car. This skirt is supposed to accent the car. Personally, I like what Ferrari did with changing it to black, the skirt to black, because I think that it really is a nice accent. I think that it's nice to have that black accent on the side of the car. I also want to talk about the mirrors. The mirrors are interesting because they're two-tone mirrors. I don't personally, when I'm on the road, see a lot of two-tone mirrors, so I find that quite interesting actually, that they have decided to go with two-tone mirrors on the car, which is the same on the Berlinetta as well. But I think it looks cool. Honestly, it's different, it's unique, it looks cool. What it is they have the stock that comes out of the side of the car that the mirror is attached to is black. The bottom half of the mirror is black. The top half of the mirror is red, like the car. I think that's really cool, having the black accent coming out, sticking out from the side of the car, and then having the top half of the mirror housing being the Ferrari red. I think that two-tone idea is something unique. It's a little detail that some people may like, some people may not like, but I'm personally one of the people that actually does like it. As far as wheels are concerned, they stuck to the same and changed it at the same time. The Berlinetta and the Superfast both share 5-spoke wheels. They have a 5-spoke style design for the wheels, but the difference is on the Berlinetta, they're solid, except for a tiny slit. There's a tiny slit in the spokes, but other than that, they're solid, so they're kind of more in your face wheels, and just the shapes are very apparent. Whereas on the Superfast, they're actually hollowed out. The spokes, each one of those spokes is actually hollowed out. It's more graceful, it's more elegant looking. It's kind of these thin strips. It's almost like you sketched it instead of filling it in. It's just like a sketch where you kind of filled in these elegant shapes of that kind of look like they're 5 spokes. So technically you'd be doubling that and it would be 10. I think it adds a more exotic feel to the car. I feel like the last set of rims didn't look so exotic. They're pretty typical Ferrari rims, but they were, I could do with something a little more exotic, and that's why I like what they did with the Superfast. Last but not least, for the side of the car, I want to talk very briefly about intakes on the back. Actually, if you look at the Superfast, they actually have air intakes. The body lines that come up the back of the car go into 2 rear end air intakes into the back of the car. I personally think that they look really, really attractive. I think that they, you know, a lot of supercars have those rear intakes, but the Berlinetta didn't. The Berlinetta didn't have that, but I think that the Superfast looks really, really good with those intakes in the back. Of course, they're functional as well. How about the rear? The rear of the car is a really interesting place. Oh, look at this guy just merging right in front of me. That makes sense. Anyways, I really, really love the rear of the Superfast. I think it is absolutely sexy. It's gorgeous. It's angry. It's elegant. It's everything you want it to be. I personally love it. And there's a couple key differences over the Berlinetta that I want to cover that I think really make this car a lot more beautiful than the Berlinetta in the back, and I might get some crap for saying that from some people, you know, who really love the Berlinetta, but me personally, I think some of these changes are great. I'd like to start with the rear windshield, actually. The Superfast, actually, counterintuitively to the rest of the comparisons of the cars, the Superfast, actually, the window looks more aggressive and more attractive. It wraps around and it has 2 sharp curves right in the middle. It kind of does this little Nike-like V in the middle, sideways, obviously. It's sideways, but it has this sharp curve in the middle, and I really like that. I think it's really attractive. If you look at the Berlinetta is just kind of a more plain, gradually all the way around kind of window. It's more ovular in shape versus the more aggressive look that they gave it on the Superfast. On to one of my favorite parts of the Superfast, or 2, I guess, but they're going to be complementing each other, and that's the lights and the exhaust. And I think that they're definitely one of my favorite parts of the car. The lights on the Berlinetta were single lights. When they were kind of doing the whole F1 style thing, they had the single lights on the back because they were trying to mimic the F1 style. I personally really like the quad lights on the Superfast. The quad lights are absolutely beautiful. I can't even express how much I love those lights. They're extremely aggressive looking, and something that I really, really enjoy about the lights is actually on the Berlinetta, the lights are a lighter color tone. They're lighter, they're brighter looking in general. The lights on the Superfast have a darker color tone, a darker color theme, and I really love that because I think it looks aggressive, it looks kind of nastier looking, it looks very, you know, underground, suspicious. Like, it looks really good, really sexy, really attractive. And the exhaust, I really love the quad exhaust. Obviously, the Berlinetta also has the quad exhaust. That's nothing unusual. But here's a really interesting quirk about the Superfast that I think was totally intentional when they designed it, but I think it was a really good decision nonetheless. Totally intentional, and they were really smart for doing it. And that is, you'll notice that if you look at them, guess what you'll notice? The quad taillights and the quad exhaust tips match up almost perfectly. You know, at the top of the rear of the car, you have the quad taillights. At the bottom of the rear of the car, you have the quad exhaust tips. And I think that that is cool attention to detail, having those match up, and I think that it just from a design standpoint, it's really eye-catching to see them match up like that. I think it's a really clever design, and I personally love it to death. So let's talk a little bit about the lines on the lines and curves on the back of the car. Well, here's an interesting flip as well. They seem to be flipping things between the Berlinetta and the Superfast. You'll notice that just like everything else that seems to be flipping 180, the Berlinetta, everything was kind of facing up in the back. The lines kind of had this curvature that was more of an up angle. The open side was towards the top. And it kind of made it almost like more inviting. It kind of reminded me of like having a smile kind of thing, you know, like it was a smiley rear end. If you look at the Superfast, however, it's more aggressive. Guess what they did? They pretty much flipped it upside down. Sort of, not completely. They either, on the Berlinetta, it's all up. On the Superfast, it's either straight or it's angled down, or it's kind of got a down angle on the back. And I think that makes it look angrier, meaner, makes it look more venomous, more vicious. You know, I think that they were going for that kind of effect when they did that. They made it from less of a smiley back end and more of an angry back end, and I think that really adds to the character of the car. I find that funny because on the front of the Berlinetta, it's more aggressive and more mean, and on the back, it's more smiley and more inviting. But on the Superfast, the front is more elegant and, you know, inviting and kind of, you know, just classy and more, you know, uplifting looking, and the back is more aggressive and more mean. So they've kind of they're really reversing everything with these cars. Like, everything is kind of reversed, and I'm wondering, like, are they psychologically trying to do that? Because that's what it seems, is like that it's like they're trying to play with you clearly by the way they designed it. But I think that the changes are good. So let's talk about the rear bumper and the rear diffuser. Well, once again, this is becoming a recurring archetype, a recurring theme. Opposites. On the Berlinetta, the side skirt is red, and the rear bumper, the rear diffuser is black. They did red side skirt and black diffuser, but if you look at the Superfast, the side skirts are black, and guess what the rear diffuser is? You guessed it, it's red. They are reversing all these little touches, and once again, I think that on the Superfast, I think that they actually made the right choices with reversing some of these things and changing some of these things. I think that the rear diffuser in red actually looks a lot better than the rear diffuser in black on the Berlinetta, so I approve of that change. Now let's talk specs on this beast. What is the beast underneath the beauty? Well, the Ferrari 812 Superfast is powered by a 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12. A naturally aspirated V12. How awesome is that? It makes 789 horsepower and 530 pound-feet of torque. Ferrari has accomplished 2 feats with this car. One, it is the most powerful Ferrari ever created. So it has taken over as the most powerful Ferrari ever. And on top of that, they've actually set a feat as well, and that is, it is actually the most powerful naturally aspirated engine in a production car. So they've hit 2 feats with this. They've beaten their own record, and they've made the most powerful naturally aspirated engine a beautiful 6.5 liter V12. And the thing about it is, it's actually 0.3 liters larger than its predecessor, the Berlinetta. The Berlinetta is only 6.2 liter, only 6.2 liters. The Berlinetta is 6.2 liters, and the Superfast is 6.5. And they also made a few other modifications to it to get every little bit of horsepower and torque out of that engine that they could, so they could beat the Berlinetta in power numbers. The power to weight ratio of this beast is definitely no slouch either. It is only 3,362 pounds, and it has 789 horsepower. That is by no means a bad power to weight ratio. That is actually 2.35 horsepower per 10 pounds. The magic number to beat for any car to really be considered a good sports car even is 1 horsepower per 10 pounds. This is 2.35 horsepower per 10 pounds of weight. That is a really good power to weight ratio and rockets this car. Another great thing about the car is the fact that they've incorporated four-way steering, which a lot of supercars are starting to get now, and darn good, because it really helps with the handling. They've added four-way steering to the Superfast, four-wheel steering, and that is a feature that cannot be beat in the handling world. Also, let's just talk about the fact that the transmission in the car is in the back. It is a front mid-engine car. That sounds kind of weird, and what does that mean, right? What is a front mid-engine car? Well, a front mid-engine, it's front mid-engine because the engine is in the front, but the hood is so ridiculously long, and they did that on purpose, so that the engine is far enough back that it's pretty much a mid-engine car, just the engine is in front of the driver. But the driver's so far back and the hood's so long that it's basically a mid-engine car. So they have the engine in the front and the transmission in the back. And what does that do? That makes for really, really great weight distribution, a lot better, a really even weight distribution, and that makes handling, of course, a lot better. That, my friends, was the Ferrari 812 Superfast. What an amazing car. I can't even speak when it makes it hard to speak sometimes when I think about this car. I think it is beautiful. I think it is stunning. I think it is mean and angry, yet elegant and luxurious in all the right ways. It has the perfect balance, both literally because of the front engine with a rear transmission, as well as all the features and visual cues. It's the perfect balance of everything, and I think it is an absolutely phenomenal car. You guys tell me, what do you think of the Ferrari 812 Superfast? Is there anything that you would change, anything you disagree with me about on the looks? I would love to hear your comments. Just comment down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as well as hit that bell so you always know when a new video is being posted. And also hit that like button. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see you next time, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.